front of my face. Hi. Oh, I'm nervous. I'm just going to get that out there. So this whole art journey for me started way back with my grandmother in her kitchen. She put a paintbrush in my hand and I fell in love with making. I followed that love to college, got a degree in graphic design with dreams of becoming an art director in an ad agency. Now, none of you you're too young to remember this, but the 1980s, the mid-80s, it was tough to get a job, even at McDonald's, let alone an ad agency. So my first gig was working for an outdoor billboard company where I had to paint the billboards and crawl up to warehouse high scaffolding and not look down while I was painting. Did I tell you I'm afraid of heights? This did not work. Fast forward a few years and a couple of jobs later, and I learned the hard truth. Art was not going to pay my bills. It was something I was going to have to put in on the fringes, on the edges, maybe do, an art side hustle. And in fact, I did my own art side hustle. One year I produced enough paper-mache Santa Clauses. I sold them, and I bought this fur-lined quilted coat. When I wrapped that coat on, I felt like success. It was lovely. Well, life pulled me forward and art got left behind. I earned my master's degree and I pivoted into the nonprofit human services world because they pay so much more. The decisions we make. I eventually found fundraising as a profession, met my husband, had our beautiful son, and moved to Texas for a new chapter. Those first years in Texas were pretty challenging. I mean, we were both traveling. Peter and I were traveling like crazy, balancing work and parenting. Nick was still in pull-ups, for goodness sakes. And the airport baggage claim was serving as our daycare drop-off. It was insane. I was stretched thin. I needed a change. I saw an ad for an art workshop at Laguna Gloria. And I thought, I'm taking that. That's great. So I jumped in there, picked up a paintbrush, painted for the first time in forever. And it was like exhaling after I'd been holding my breath forever. I wanted to hold on to that feeling. I didn't know how. And there was a guy in my class who had 3 children and was painting in his bathroom. And I said, if he can do it, surely I can do it. So I carved out a space in my back bedroom and I began to paint. And that was great. I did that for a few years, and then I wanted a deeper change. I realized I wanted to be more present for my son, and I wanted art to be more present in my life. And so I got a part-time job as a fundraiser, and I rented a studio space, and I painted. And this studio space had no windows, had no air conditioning, had no heat, barely had a bathroom, but I was able to paint there. And that was wonderful for a while. And then it became hard because I was putting pressure on myself to produce artwork that would sell. And I was putting pressure on my creative self to be productive. So I didn't quite understand this. I was confused. I wasn't selling anything. I wasn't sure I liked what I was making. So I reached out to a local artist and I thought, she knows what she's doing. She can give me some good advice. And she sat down with me and she gave me a full-blown art critique. And for those that don't know what an art critique is, you look at the artwork and you say, it's good, it's bad, and this is why. And she told me my artwork was bad. She said, you have no sense of composition, your colors don't work. I know. I'm like, I just flipped my world around to put art at the center, and I suck at it? Okay. You know, I was very badly bruised, but I was not broken. And I thought, maybe there's a kernel of truth to what she's saying. I did respect this woman's opinion, after all. So I chose to dig deeper. I got a teacher. We began to work on refreshing my skill set. I watched every art video on YouTube of every artist that I could to see how they were making a success of life. I watched every Art 21 episode on PBS, and I painted, and I painted, and I painted. Eventually, I found my voice artistically, and eventually my confidence grew. The art was becoming better. It was getting stronger. My first sales were at an open canopy, open studio event, and that was wonderful. People liked my work. I was invited to do a show at a gallery, and they promoted me. They put my name on this banner, and then they plastered it out on West 6th Street. I mean, right, you don't always say that, but that was a good thing, right? Finances have always dogged this art passion of mine, but I've found my footing, and I can say confidently and proudly, I'm a professional working artist. Then Rowena Dash came to me and said, hey, let's do this show. And you know, this show has been amazing for a lot of different reasons. One, I was invited. That's a huge compliment. Thank you, Rowena. And secondly, we got investors to this show that wanted to make sure that it was a success, and it wasn't my mom or my husband. That was huge. But the biggest thing was the creative challenge that this show represented for me. I mean, look, I'm a contemporary abstract painter. I look to moods, memories, the paint colors on my palette to get inspiration. I'm not used to deconstructing embroidery stitches on 100-year-old quilts or looking at bits of old lace to get inspired. This show challenged me in ways that were quite unexpected and very gratifying. Yet again, I'm being challenged, and I'm becoming a much more interesting artist. Here's the thing that I have learned. To be a successful creative, it's really an inside job, and a messy one at that. I have no idea why I keep doing this. It makes no financial sense. It makes no rational sense. But what I do know is I'm a better person when I paint. Just ask my husband. It stretches me. It makes me grow. I'm a bigger, better person. And that for me is what life is all about.